Testing. Hope you guys hear this. I think I did everything right to plug this in. Anyways, so let's talk about ghosting, okay? And the thing is with ghosting is it when you get ghosted, ghosting feels personal. It feels like rejection without explanation. And yeah, but you gotta understand that ghosting isn't always random, right? Most of the time it's predictable, most of the time. And there's a reason why people disappear instead of communicating. And once you understand these reasons though, you won't take it personally, or you stop taking it personally, and you start seeing it as more information for you, which is great because then you can learn from it, prevent it from happening again. Now, if you're new here, my name is Mitchell and I'm a relationship coach. And in today's live video, I'll be talking about why she ghosted you. So let's move on. Okay, so the first one is the reward does not justify their discomfort. Now, attraction runs on emotional payoff. So, like, is it worth it, right? When someone is excited about you, they'll tolerate a lot of awkward conversations. Even when you say things that aren't funny, they'll start laughing at certain things, right? Because their interest is high. And so they'll make it clear, they'll clarify certain things. But when emotional reward is, it drops below the emotional cost, like it's just not worth it, people often they pull back. And there are common reasons why people do that. You become overly available too quickly, too fast, or you overly invest. You overinvest emotionally too early on. And for most of the time, a lot of men, they overly invest too much the moment she starts to give them a little bit more attention. Conversations turn into more so of reassurance seeking, like, oh, am I this or am I that? Am I basically good enough to be with you, right? That's what you're conveying when you're asking certain questions like that. So also a lot of mystery disappears. You just lose a lot of mystery. Why? Maybe it's because you're trying to talk on the phone too much. You overshare instead of asking her more questions. Like 70 to 80% of the time you should be asking her more questions so that she could answer you back. She should be communicating to you 70 to 80%. And so you can ask her questions, let her talk more so that you can understand her a little bit more. Now, this could be another option, which is they felt you needed them more than they need you. And so it's really important that this mainly applies to the guy, right? Where you felt like you're the man and you wanted her more than she wanted you. It's very, very important to understand that it is better off that she likes you more than you like her. Or at least the thought of it. She thinks that you like her a little bit less. It's like, well, why? Because then her interest level starts to build. It's not that you don't care about her. It's you give her this idea of like, hey, she has to invest in you a little bit more. That way you could reciprocate and give her that attention as well. So I'm not telling you guys to be a cold fish and be distant and act like you're not, but it's always better if she knows that she likes you more than you like her. Now, so when you apply all this, right, you felt like she felt like you needed her more than she needs you, right? Now, this brain of yours, what it's really telling you is that it's easier to disappear when this happens. When you convey all these things, like you're overly available, you overinvest, you're reassurance seeking, it's to her, it's just easier to disappear. Like, I don't want to deal with this. Instead of resolving this type of discomfort, they remove themselves from it. It's just easier to just remove, right? So ghosting is often less about the cruelty and more about the low investment. So what does that tell you? It means that, look, if they ghost, let them be, right? Chasing them isn't going to make them come back. It just understand that, hey, look, just don't take it too personal. Take it as information and what you can learn by it so that it doesn't happen again. Now, if they were highly invested, on the other hand, they would communicate that. AKA, they would not ghost you in the first place, right? If she has high attraction, she's not going to want to lose you. Now, attraction thrives on space, and it thrives on curiosity and emotional tension. So you need space to create tension. Too too little space, there's no slack. There's too much slack. There's no tension involved. And so there's nothing to wonder about you. You're always available. Obviously, anybody that's around someone all the time, you're gonna get comfortable. And it's like, especially in the beginning, in this whole dating and courtship phase, you want to remain a little bit of mystery, because you're also competing with especially if she's a woman of beauty, she's going to have a lot of other prospects. You're not the only guy she's dating. But I've always had this understanding of let the best man win. It's like, hey, I always believe that 90% of the time, if not more, that let's just say she's talking to 10 guys and I'm one of those 10. More often than not, those guys will talk themselves out of her liking him. More often than not. And all I have to do is just sit back and wait for them to self-sabotage everything. And I'm like, cool. Then she's going to want to hit me up. And I just be like, hey, great hearing from you again. When are you free to meet up? Boom. Right? So, anyways, the solution to all this is, slow down early on, especially with your emotional investment, right? I'm not telling you to be a cold fish, but just slow it down a little bit. Match her energy instead of trying to escalate it because she's not giving enough. That's what my Coach Corey Wayne, explains of, what was it again? It was illusion of action. Sorry, it took me a little time to think about it. But that's the illusion of action, where if she pulls away, you're like, I have to do something. If I don't do anything, she's going to forget about me. Which, sounds productive, but it is actually counterproductive. So instead, when she pulls back, give her space. She wants space, to give it to her. Why? Because that's what she wanted. Attraction grows in space. You need emotional attention to build up attraction. So why not give it to her? And in the meantime, do the things that you want to do. Maintain your routine, whatever it is. So whether it's going to the gym, having certain goals, doing hobbies, like whatever hobbies you have, like continue to do those so that you don't let her distract you. Now, most importantly, what you don't want to do is don't build your world around someone you just met. Don't do that. Okay. You just met that person. So self-development maintains attraction. Overinvestment, especially too early on, destroys attraction. Now let's talk about modern dating. Okay. And how it took away a lot of social consequences. So back then, before dating apps and all this, or even dating online, right, and social structures, rejections had a lot of accountability. And so maybe you met this person in a friend group, right? You saw the other person and you knew of each other. So it's like, if you ghosted, there's a social reputation that really mattered. It's like, wow, this person sucks. Who's Sally and why the fuck did she just ghost people? Like, she's just got a bad reputation. Nowadays, because there's platforms like Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, Coffee Meets Bagels, and all that, it creates this type of environment where people aren't really treated as people, and they're more treated as like a profile, as opposed to people. And common reasons are like, well, they were dating multiple people, as they should, because who wouldn't want options? Or an ex reappeared. Ghosting wasn't a thing 20 years ago, right? Exactly. Because there were social obligations. There were things that could ruin your reputation. Now, another common reason is maybe an ex reappeared. You don't know that. You don't know what you don't know. Someone new and exciting came back, or came into the life, or they were not really planning on exclusivity. Like, you don't know what you don't know. All you have to do is just ask questions. What are you really looking for? I'm curious. Like, why do you come out today? I'm curious to know. And then you want to see whether or not that person is congruent to what they say they were. Like, if they say, I'm looking for a boyfriend, I'm looking for a husband, but I'm not just gonna drop everything and just be with the first person I'm with. I'm just, I'm into dating. I want to see what are my options, and as you should be. You don't want to just settle for the first person that sits, that lands on your lap, right? So now, moving on. When someone feels slightly uncertain, they're maybe mildly bored, or a better match reappeared, or they're emotionally overwhelmed, right? They don't think to themselves like, oh, I owe this person closure. They think to themselves like, hey, I'll just move on, I'll just dip out because I don't want to deal with this nonsense. So abundance reduces a lot of perceived responsibility. What does that mean? It means that when a person feels like there's this endless supply, right? Abundance, this endless supply of something, their urge to manage something carefully starts to diminish, meaning they just, in other words, their value proposition goes down. So they're less invested, right? So it kind of something simple, something materialistic, right? You have a lot of money. You're more likely to spend that money. You have a lot of water, right? You have a lot of water. You're not worried about the extra flushes, But if someone told you that there's a drought, you'd be like, all right, let me, yellow, let it mellow. The brown, flush it down. So it's kind of like that, right? Now, when option feels endless, individual connection feels more disposable. It's easy to let that go because, hey, I don't want to deal with this person. I'm just gonna dip out. Now, the solution, always try to provide a solution. Never assume exclusivity without a conversation. And more importantly, if you're watching this and if you're a guy, you're a masculine man and she's a feminine woman, you want her to bring it up. You want her to bring it up. And the reason why is no girl will ever want to bring up exclusivity if she was not interested in you. She just wouldn't. So if she is, obviously she wants to be with you. Why? Because she perceives you as a catch. And so if she's going to bring up that conversation, so what does this mean? You'd be like, what does what mean? What does what mean? Be chill about it. Don't try to avoid it, but have her explain it to you. Like, what do you want? What are you trying to say? Say it to me. I don't want to say it. I'm shy. I think you could say it to me. Do you need some time? Do you want me to walk to the other side of the room where I'm not too up close? Make it playful and fun and, know that she's going to have that talk with you, right? And so it's important for that to happen because that's where feminine energy thrives, right? That's how it flourishes. It's bonding, it's connecting. And so that's why when guys overinvest too early on, it pushes her away because too many guys wants to do that. Also, you want to keep your options open early on. So you want to have, what the hell is wrong with my hair? You still want to have options early on. Okay? Don't emotionally commit before commitment is mutual. So then you're basically matching and mirroring her. Let your actions show standards, not desperation. Because a lot of people, when they first get into this dating, they already had this idea of like, this is the person, this is it. I want to be with her for the rest of my life. The guy I dealt with lately, constantly hot and cold. Explain that to me. So if someone leaves for someone else, they filter themselves out. That's all it is. Don't take it personal. There's plenty of other people. And I know, I've been through it too. When, especially in the early phases of dating, and maybe you guys had some fun together. You went on a few dates. And all of a sudden they lose attraction and they don't want to talk to you anymore. It's like you can't help but wonder, like, what the hell did I do wrong? But it's important to take a step back and see the picture as a whole so that you don't get too overly invested. And then because when you become too overly invested, your mind gets too narrow and you fail to see what is really happening and what is going on. Like basically the information that you just got from that person that ghosted you or didn't want to talk to you anymore, you don't see that information. You just take it personal and you don't get to learn from that. Taking things personal, you don't learn. And so my next one is, it could be possible that they are avoidant. And in intimacy, it triggers them. Some people just aren't ready. So I've always talked about this, which is you're looking for somebody that's ready, willing, and able. You want to see, are they ready to be in this? Are they willing to be where it's not forced? And are they able to do that? I don't know who that is. Okay. But yeah, so this avoidant intimacy one, it's a big one for most people, and a lot of people don't understand this. It's that, some people enjoy the chase, but they panic when they feel like they're becoming too invested. So when things feel good early on, like this whole flirting, the mystery, the sexual attention, playful texting, and all that, like, it's fun. And I've always said this before, keep texting at a minimal. The text is for setting dates. The phone is for setting dates. It's not there to try to get to know somebody. So now, when connection starts becoming real to them, vulnerability, right? The consistency, the expectation, what it starts to do to the other person is that it starts to trigger this fear, like, what the hell? I'm not ready for this. I never wanted this to go this far. I just wanted the flirt, the mystery. It was fun while it was, but now you want to be with me? I don't want that. I want, some people, they want the sex without being in that relationship. And you know what I mean? And so things like that happen. I hate being ghosted, but it's just, it boosts your ego. Does it? I remember him letting him know I like him too, but he wouldn't want online. And that's great information. He's like, look, I don't want online. I want more. So you have to respect that. You have to respect that. And then you have to respect yourself enough to walk away from that. All right. If you like that, hit the like button. And so, yeah, like this vulnerability, it triggers a lot of fear, right? This expectation. And so common reasons for that is that for these people, they hate uncomfortable conversations like that. They fear emotional reactions, and they were probably raised in a home where conflict was either explosive or very suppressed. Like, you better not show your emotions, son. And so they don't really know how to reject someone respectfully. And so it's what they are lacking, what they don't know. And it could be possible. So that's why I say, don't take things personal. You don't know what you don't know, and it's okay. You don't have to know everything. What you're really looking for is you're looking for someone that's excited to be with you, that's willing to jump fences to be with you. It's like, yeah, I would love to see you. I'd love to come over to see you instead of like you always going over to their place, right? Same thing for people in relationships. I mean, in the past, before I knew any of this, I was one of those guys where I'm like, hey, you know what? It feels like I'm always the one that's and then, she will also bring up like, well, it's just easier. It's just easier. And I was like, look, relationship isn't easy. It just shows me that you just lack a lot of interest. And it was my fault for not seeing that. What's up, Maddie? It was my fault for not seeing that. And so I didn't blame her for that. I just blamed myself. I was like, Mitchell, how can you be so clueless? But like I said, you don't know what you don't know. And that was something I just did not know. I was like, it didn't make sense. It wasn't until I started reading books. Coach Corey Wayne, shout out to you. You helped me out a lot. You expanded my my knowledge. So, thank you. But anyways, those are common reasons, right? Why someone will reject you. Now, avoidantly attached individuals or people often experience intimacy as a threat to their independence. So not a lot of people want to lose their independence, especially if they're like, hey, you know what? It feels more like a burden now that I'm with you. Like I don't want to lose my freedom, in other words. And so it's a threat to their independence, to their freedom. So for them, instead of saying, I'm scared this is getting too serious, they just shut down, right? Ghosting becomes this way of regulating their emotions and their anxiety. And so it becomes a cope for them. So to you, it feels like you just got abandoned. Like there's abandonment from them. But to them, it feels like this relief. It's like, shit, like, whew, I didn't have to deal with that. That would have been an uncomfortable conversation, especially why? Because maybe, we've been on a lot of dates. I felt like everything was going well, and I just want to dip out. So now what I would say to this is, it doesn't make it healthy because they did that. I'm not saying that what they do is right. And I'm also saying it's not healthy. But what that does make it is it makes it a little bit more understandable for you. So you have information so that you don't take it personal, or at least you take it less personal after watching this live. And so a solution, right? A solution is don't chase for clarity for someone who's trying to avoid it. And it just accept their silence as their way of preferred communication. And you know what? It's their life. Eventually, if they're gonna keep avoiding things, they're gonna avoid a lot of inconsistencies when they're actually in a relationship. So it's for them to deal with. I tell guys straight up front, he won't lose his me time because I learned from your previous lessons. Two people must never lose themselves. Yes, thank you. I'm really glad that you remember that, because losing your identity, especially when you're in a relationship, could be very detrimental to the relationship, because then you'll be too attached to like, hey, I won't be happy, or I'll be less happy if this person gives me less time, right? And it's like, that's why have your own hobbies, have similar goals and similar values. You guys don't have to do exactly the same thing, but at least have something that you're interested in. You still should have goals for each other that maybe you could spend a little time. Hey, maybe it's going to the gym, or maybe it's like going on a walk. Do something healthy physically together. That's what I'm saying. Now, another solution, because I love solutions, right? Don't chase that, okay? And also value people who can speak directly. Value that. A lot of people, they focus on the good times, right? They focus on like the how high the chemistry is, but they avoid that character flaw. And what I mean by that is, what character flaw do they have? Well, when everything's great, it's great, but when something goes bad slightly, it's horrible. It's like, well, that's not a good trade-off, because this motherfucker can't even talk when they're upset. And they refuse to talk. It's been days and they still refuse to talk. J-Part Y star. Yeah, appreciate that. So yeah, you gotta see that. You gotta understand, like, do people know how to communicate? Because that's a very, very important, because you're gonna run into some issues in your relationship. Are you guys able to communicate so that you guys can move past it? Very big. So you want someone that's emotionally capable, not someone who's emotionally evasive. Okay, that's maturity. That's very important. Now, here's the last thing that I want to talk about. Right? They don't want to manage your emotional reaction, and so they don't want to deal with your bullshit. Basically, in other words, so this is uncomfortable, but a lot of people don't know how to handle things when they get rejected. Red X. Understand that women and men are humans, and being okay with emotional intelligence and knowing to discern reality and society's path helps. Okay. I feel like you have a little bit more to say about that too. So I'm gonna let you finish that while I explain a little bit more. So they don't want to manage your emotions. It's uncomfortable, but it's realistic. It's real, right? Many people, they ghost because they assume that confrontation will start with a lot of begging, arguing, long emotional paragraphs and explanations, a lot of anger, a lot of guilt tripping. And so the solution to that is like, well, when that really does happen to you, if she were to ever not say that to me, like, hey, Mitchell, I don't think it's gonna work out, blah 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 blah, whatever reasons, yada yada yada, right? Okay, well, call me when you change your mind. And so when you say that, it is 1,000% important. Okay, I'm not 99, 1,000% to stay congruent with what you say, because a lot of people, when they say things like that, it's like, well, if I say, well, okay, call me when you change your mind, it feels like, or it seems like I'm waiting for her to come around and like change her mind. But in reality, what you're really conveying is, look, when you say it and you mean it, your action speaks louder than words. So when you walk away after you say that and you allow her to come to you when she does change her mind, it is that congruency from your words that creates attraction. That's the most important thing. When you say it, delete that phone number. You be like, I'm sorry. You know, if she calls you or texts you back in like a 2-3 months because she didn't find anyone else better, and you're like, damn, I made a mistake. It's like, yeah, don't take it too hard. That's why when you don't burn bridges and you don't take things too personal, and when they come back, they're more receptive. They're like, damn, I really fucked up. And you're like, no, that's okay. And it's still your choice. You get a choice to allow them to come back or, you know, disappear away. And you'd be like, hey, you know what? Maybe you're in a different place now. Maybe you're in a relationship. You'd be like, hey, yeah, you just let them know. Okay, men don't like drama, especially men been battled and tested. And so this I do want to touch on that, even though I'm talking about emotional reactions. This is what happens. This is how this quote unquote man, this masculine man, becomes very dangerous. Okay. And I'm not saying dangerous as in like he's physically violent. What I am saying is a man that's been hurt, that felt like he hit rock bottom. You know, everybody hit rock bottom differently. And to him, it is his rock bottom. And he still decided to thrive off of that. And he still decided that, look, whatever happens, I'm not going to let what just happened ruin my life. And I still choose to become a great man after that. That is a guy that is fucking dangerous. And I mean that he's not going to tolerate a lot of BS that another woman's going to throw at him. He's going to understand, like, look, these are certain things that I'm not going to tolerate. And he will put his foot down. And it becomes dangerous. But he's also kind about it. It's like, look, this is what I'm looking for. If you don't have those attributes, then I don't think we're a good match. And that's not to say that things are personal. Don't take it personal because we're not a match. It's just that you don't have what I'm looking for, and that's okay. It's not like you walk into an Apple store and be like, well, I want Samsung. It's like, well, that's not what you're looking for then. Maybe you should go to a different store. Apple probably isn't the best place for you to shop. You should go somewhere else. And that's where a man that's willing to walk away has a lot of value. Okay? Red X, you said, instead of learning what men and women are supposed to be, can we learn a shared humanity? What do you mean by that? I like a man that's blunt, no running, beating around the bushes. Yeah, and because that conveys a lot of confidence, and that's where you know what you want, and then eventually, it's funny enough that when you guys do get together, it's natural that things will happen and people will get more comfortable. And when things like that do happen, like how fast or how quickly can you move? Thank you. How quickly and how fast can you move from being bothered to being more grounded and more centered? That is what creates attraction. And being able to walk away and mean it, that is what creates that tension. And that is what your silence basically, because you're responding to her, right? I know we're talking about ghosting, but let's just say she's like, I don't want to be with you anymore. That grounded type of masculinity, and you're allowing her to walk away, and you're like, hey, if that's what you want, that's okay. Go ahead. It's fine. I hope you find happiness somewhere else. But call me when you change your mind. So that way she knows exactly, hey, if I'm ever, basically you letting her know, if you fuck up and you didn't find anyone else better, you know what's up. Because people don't know what value is until they can't find it somewhere else. And most of the time when they try to come back, these guys are not as available. And these guys will already see like, damn, that probably wasn't the best choice anyways. But hey, and then he might even say, look, in the beginning, he'd be like, yeah, I'd love to, see where things go. But, he might even be upfront about it. I was looking to be in a relationship before. Right now, I don't think I am. And maybe you are, and you're like, fuck, I still want to be with him. Why? Because attraction's not a choice. Like learning about emotion regulation and work ethics. So those are separate categories, I would say, because there's a difference between attraction and learning about yourself, right? Because that's just a way of communication. And so that is equally as important. And I stress a lot about that because emotionally regulating yourself and having good work ethics, good morale, right? Congruency in what you say and what you do, those are all things that are very lost in this world, and it doesn't happen very often. Okay, you said I like structure and self-containment because one, it can help with boundaries, absolutely, between our worth and outside. The second is that it becomes way more easier because we have conviction, where confidence, I think there's a little bit more you're saying too, so I'll wait. And there is a lot of conviction when you know what you want and when you say certain things like, hey, this isn't what I want. So setting and enforcing healthy boundaries, because you don't want to be in a relationship and then let another person run and you become this doormat, because nobody will respect a doormat. But it's not really 50-50 in a relationship. I personally believe that if you're the man, that whenever shit comes, it really depends on the context. But when it comes to the man and taking care of the relationship, I truly believe that it's the man's job to take care of the relationship, and it's to spot whether or not she is a psychopath or not, right? That's also important. But it's like, well, how well does she respond to what I have to say? Because if you fail to be a leader, that comes with a lot of consequences, and she's not going to have a lot of attraction for you, even though you have a lot of self-containment, right? And maybe you have boundaries, but you don't enforce those boundaries. She's gonna see it more as a bluff rather than someone that's really have any type of conviction, like what you were saying. I'm liking a battle-tested man right now, Mitchell. He told me that he cannot commit to anything, so we agreed to just stay friends. Okay. My question to you that is, why would you want to stay friends? Like, especially if you see this other man as a romantic interest, like you could walk away from it, like, because you shared what you wanted. He told you he's not ready, or he doesn't want to be with you online. He wants a little bit more than that. And so for you to stay in that, you're basically conveying to him is, I'll sit around for you, and use the coping or the cover up to be like, yeah, friends. To me, there's a little bit of an inconsistency with that. And so me personally, I would just walk away from it. I love to be your friend, but I can't. At least not right now, because I have feelings for you. At least be honest with that, right? And so that's what I would say to a guy too. I'm like, hey, look, be congruent, be honest, and be like, look, right now, you see me as a friend. You're not interested in me romantically, so I have to walk away from it, because what I am looking for is a romantic interest, not someone to be my friend right now, right? I think what's a green flag is that it's a flexibility between structure and decisive meeting with openness and compassion and acceptance for human vulnerability. It is. But I think that's more on... Hold on, let me read that again. Green flag, that is flexibility between structure and decisive. Structure and decisiveness between meeting and openness and compassion. Okay. What I would like to touch on that is a little bit different when you start to... When you're more exclusive. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have any structure or any type of flexibility, right, when you're dating. But also is like you're also competing with a lot of other people. Like I said, if she's a woman of beauty, there's a lot of like attraction is attraction. There's certain things that what women say they are attracted to and how they respond are two different things, right? Why else do you always hear like nice guys finish last? It's like nice guys don't finish last. It's because they lack boundary. They become like a yes man. They don't really have a backbone, and so they agree with a lot, and that's not what builds attraction. What builds attraction is like a guy that really understand what he wants and go after it and unapologetically go for it. And so yeah, I think it's there's phases to this. I know that's way right. I know that my no. I think you make a lot of sense. It's just, there's a time and place where you apply certain things. And especially in, this dating phase, like I'm talking about, you just met this person not long ago. You've probably been on like 2 or 3 dates. Like this is too much of a serious talk for someone that's trying to have a good time, because then you get to see like, well, is this person fun? If you're not even fun, why would I want to be around you? Being around you is going to be miserable, right? If I want to have fun with you. So that's that fun aspect. But then it's like, well, how well can you handle these hard times together? Well, that's a different talk, right? So I think, there's a time and place for everything. And in dating, all you want to focus on is hang out and have fun. And then you guys hook up. Those are the 3 H's that Coach Corey Wayne, shout outs to Coach again. But you want to hang out and have fun and hook up, and it's not hang out, have fun, have a serious talk about relationships and then hook up. Like you're not going to hook up if you're going to be serious all the time. That's not what woman responds to. So it's different. So I understand where you're coming from, but I think that's more in a later phase. Okay. So best solution is to walk away, Mitchell. Yes. Because if they want to come back, they will. That's the bottom line. If they want to come back, they will. And I think it's important to have enough self-respect to walk away. Anyways, I've deviated a little bit too much from that, but it was a lot of fun talking about it. Don't get me wrong. Okay, where was I? I said what? Call me when you change your mind. Where to someone it feels like, it's like you waiting around, but what you're really conveying is, look, your action speaks louder. When you allow her to come to you, right, it's basically your congruency from your words that creates that attraction. Like you're never going to call or text her again unless she calls you back. And so now common reasons are, you talked about the future a little bit too early. You needed constant reassurance. You texted too much. And I've said that before too. You reacted strongly on like these delays, like, oh, how come you don't respond to me quick enough? It's like, why? No one's obligated to respond to you. Okay. Their time is their time. Or they felt responsible for your happiness too. So whether that assumption is fair or not, it's not about being fair or not. It's what influences that type of behavior. And so ghosting allows them to avoid all this. They avoid explaining themselves, defending their feelings, right? Being persuaded to stay because they already made their mind. They're like, they don't want to deal with all this, right? They don't want to feel responsible for the type of pain they're giving you emotionally. So in other words, they don't want to carry your emotional weight. And so what they do, they drop it. They ghost you. Okay. People choose the path of least resistance when they don't feel like they're deeply committed. And so the solution for that is you want to regulate your emotions. You don't want to make someone your therapist because, that's not their job. You don't want to trauma dump on them. And you build emotional stability before dating. So what you were talking about, emotional regulation, very important. You want to get ready to be in a relationship, if you will. Like you want to build that resilience. Like, hey, whatever happens, and that's okay. I'll be okay from this. And just let the connection grow more naturally. Is it someone that I enjoy talking to? Is it someone that's taking away a lot of peace from me? Like that's very important. And so the key takeaway from this is don't feel like you have to overly invest. And don't take it personal if things don't go your way, right? Just accept it and walk away and keep your head held up high, because you know either way you're still gonna be okay from this. And more joy or play or novelty. Yeah, absolutely. And because look, going on dates, you always want to get more information about yourself. That's how I see it. It's because your self-growth will always be the best return for your for your time, because the more you learn about yourself, the better you understand yourself, like what triggers you, what gets you upset, what really gets you driving, like what motivates you. The more you understand yourself, the less likely you're going to want to take things personal, because you're more open to learning about things. And when you go into this date or something and they do ghost you, you're like, damn, okay, what did I do wrong? Like, take it as a game rather than taking it personal, where like, hey, what did I do wrong that got me ghosted? Like, I get it. You know, I got ghosted, but what did I do wrong? And that way, like you said, you get more play out of it, you get more information, and that way you're less likely to do it again. That being said, that is my live, so I really do hope you guys enjoy it. You guys can always come back next week on Saturday. I'll still be doing lives. And yeah, let's see. Okay, Red X, you got one. But I think that what could help is redirect instead of having a girlfriend or dating immediately. Perhaps we can set the bar a bit more lower, like meeting people, acquaintances. What do you mean by lowering the bar? I think that. I think. And I'm thinking right now too. So. Okay, this is what I would say. So. You ever had this, and I'm talking about just being in the field, right? Field, if you want to call it that, or just having a good time, right? Let's see what happened the other day. Just having, so meeting someone and, you know, maybe even getting a relationship out of that, right? Should be a byproduct of who you are. So let's just say you're just this guy, you're having a good time. You're not going out there specifically like, damn, I need to find a girlfriend, right? Or I need to find a girl so I can talk to them so that she could be my girlfriend, because then you're putting too much stress on your body of, damn, if I fail to get a phone number, like it's too much pressure on you, right? But let's just say you're going out, you're just trying to have a good time. Yes, your goal is to hopefully find someone of your interest, but if it doesn't, it's okay, because there's going to be another day. But you don't let that stop you, and you go out there and you build this type of momentum to just say hi to everybody. Be like, hey, how's it going? I really like your shirt, right? I just think you're the most beautiful. Look, I want to tell you something. You're the most beautiful person I've seen today. And then she smiles, and then you make it even more fun, right? You'd be like, damn. Now, that is definitely going to be the whatever you want to say, right? A compliment. And you're just having a good time, and you're just building momentum. When you build that momentum and you have a good time, you're not looking for anything. You're just trying to have a good time for yourself. And when you do that, you're sending out that type of energy that attracts people towards you, that wants to be around you, that wants to get to know you a little bit more. And, you know, finding a good person is a byproduct of who you are. A lot of people go out with the energy of, shit, I'm in a miserable mood. I'm not happy. But yet I want someone to like hear this type of happiness. When I have this girlfriend, then it's like that's not what you want. You want to be in a good place first. You want to be in a happy place first. And so that you could share each other's completeness. And that's still something that I still say to this day. You want to be where you want to be. and then find someone that helps support what you have, to share each other's completeness. And that is the best thing that you can have in a relationship, right? And so yeah, I know I went on a tangent about that, but I hope this helps. And Red X, hope you come back again, because you got a lot of good questions, and I appreciate that. So I'll see you next week on a new topic. All right.